So now I'll ask about the Space Force. President Trump created it. It was mocked. You've defended it and said it's important. How much do you think that will be a driver to speed up investment and research and development into space?
Well, it's not so much that I said it was important. I just said it was not a crazy idea.
Okay.
Not being a crazy idea means it's a great idea. Okay, but I just wanted to note that we already have active presence in space by the U.S. military, and it's under the Air Force, and it's called the U.S. Space Command. And they've been doing this. The Air Force has had space presence ever since the beginning, back in the 1960s. So it's sort of an accounting shift of all the space activities from the Air Force to a new thing that might be called, that if it goes through, would be called a Space Force. And for me, I'd like to throw some extra things in the portfolio, like how about defending us against asteroids that have our name written on it? That'd be a good way to use defense money, I would think. Also, space is becoming quite the trash heap. Space debris actually can badly interfere with space commerce, because if you have a satellite minding its own business, sending transmissions, be it a weather satellite, a communication satellite, and an 18,000-mile-an-hour stray bolt comes through, that's the end of your satellite. So clearing the space regime for commerce, it should be a fundamental part of what the military does in protecting our assets.
So, Neil, we're talking here a lot about whether it's military incentives for exploiting space or putting money into space, and also private sector efforts, some of them directed at moving people to other planets and things like that. Is that, in your mind, a sufficient set of reasons to actually spend money on space? Or is there not a pure science exploration type reason anymore that we should have more government-sponsored efforts in that direction?
Depending on the wealth of a country, there's a spending level below which it has the complete accommodation and tolerance for pure space research. But beyond that, it has to be linked either to economic drivers or to geopolitical forces. Often that's code for military or defense. And so if we're going to go into space in a big way, it's not obvious to me that the urge to explore is sufficient. And the economic drivers have always worked, and like I said, so too does your need for security. By the way, security in this case is not just protecting the value of the satellite that is in orbit, it's protecting the value of the commerce that that satellite enables. Consider the GPS system, which was launched by the Air Force and then co-opted by our business community. There are entire business models that only exist because of GPS, such as Uber, such as Tinder. You want to find out who you're going to mate within a square mile, it is getting coordinates via GPS. And so there's the valuation of those satellites goes beyond just their hardware. It's what they enable on Earth. So if you're going to have a military presence, you'd want the military protecting our assets in space, as well as whatever else it's doing here on the ground. Now, what's going to open that? I think space tourism is a huge driver. Yeah, right now you can go to the Russians used to take tourists for $20 million. And I don't know that there was a waiting list for that, but a few people did it. Now, that seems to be a highly sort of elastic demand curve there, because if you make it 10 million, there'll be more people who can afford to do it. 5 million, 1 million, 500,000, 100,000, each drop down. You're going to grow that interest and grow that community. And at the bottom, you can make it a lottery. And everyone puts in $10 to get a trip into space. And so the first person who does that will make great strides, be it Bezos or Virgin Galactic or Elon Musk. I just know for myself, I'm not going to be the first on any of those voyages until like Elon Musk sends his mother. And then if she comes back alive, then I might buy a ticket.